Okay. It says we are live, and this is the March meeting part 2 because the power went out while we were right in the middle of doing Bodie Rose. So we got the first part of Bodie Rose on the other part of the screen, and now we're going to do the second part. And it's a little darker. All right, let's play the first part just so that we know where we are. Let's do it again. Snap here. And here. Okay, and then the second part. A note is the pickup note. And right after that, here's what's next. Okay, and then we have our snap section, a C sharp pickup note, and then all right. So with the pickup, and here's what's next. And the ending. So shall we put it together? Slowly. So the B part of the tune. And the next bit. Then the snaps with the C sharp pickup. Scale. let's try the whole song. And that B part is the words there are the boat she rows, the boat she rows. So the title of the tune is right there in the words there. That's the chorus. All right, from the beginning. Snap. And snap here. Chorus. Actually, it doesn't. Neither part repeats. So unless you're doing it just to say one more chorus, so, or let's do 2 verses in a row before we sing the chorus. You can arrange songs however you please in terms of the verse and the chorus. But I guess normally it would be verse, chorus, so no repeats on the sections. All right, let's play through it again. Okay. Well, we could do another one by ear, but I think let's move on to sheet music. Did people print it out for themselves?
I actually did.
And is there anyone who needs a selection of sheet music? Because I did bring some printouts. Okay.
Meanwhile, here's the sign-up sheet if you are here.
Amy?
Let us know your name's already on here. Just check
Want to either buy a
March.
zip code or
If your name's
phone
not
number
on
zip
here.
code. I don't know what phone number we have. Yeah, well, you got some file folders on. Wow, you can't even look up your bank statement. I have the account number.
Well, why don't I come back to you, January?
Okay, there are 4 pages this time.
Do you bring any music?
Yeah, I did. Okay. So here's one set of 4 pages. Here's another set of 4 pages, and I think we need at least one more, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Who was that signing?
Yeah, I need to.
Okay, here's another set.
Oh, and one more back here?
One more?
Yeah.
Okay.
And I didn't print out the February. Do you have any extras of those?
Yeah, I
or
brought
should
stuff from
Oh,
last
that's very
month.
kind of you. Thank
Yeah.
you. So then I should, even though I didn't go, because I wasn't able to, should I just still check, see if people are giving me music? Okay.
Yeah, at
If
the
you
end.
have the music, check it.
Yeah, I could take last month's too, if it's available.
Okay,
I'll print
well,
it.
I'll see. I brought everything I have printed out with me, but let's see what I have when we take our break. Okay, so now we can do Kind Robin, right?
Yes.
So the full title is Kind Robin Loves Me. He loves me, right? And this is a really sweet song. I looked through all the words. I did not bring them with me, but it's a love song where basically there's not a lot of angst. You know, the only slightly angsty thing is where it's from the girl's perspective, and she says, "Oh, Kind Robin loves me, and he's nice, and he's good looking, and he's charming." And the only thing she says is, you know, basically the mean girls said he wouldn't like me, but he does.
That's cute.
Yeah. And the rest of it is all, you know, basically sweet things about how nice the guy is and how happy she is. So what a sweet love song it is. Would you know this one, right?
This tune appears in a number of places in the 18th century,
Mhm.
and the version I know is from the 1742 McGibbon, and it's known as Robin Cushy in
Mhm.
that setting. I didn't look up the lyrics for that. They may be in the Tea Table Miscellany. I'm going to have to dig around for that. So I don't know the lyrics, but it does apparently appear in a number of sources around the mid-18th century and maybe a little bit earlier. But also around 1817, when this is being published, this melody is being transformed into another melody which might be familiar, which I'll give away after you play it again.
Let's play it
See if you
here.
can guess. This is a very well-known melody.
You didn't do the repeats.
I didn't do the
No.
repeats.
Oh, okay.
Because it's not sung with repeats in the melody that you know it as.
Oh.
Okay, do you know the answer to this one?
I do.
Why
I'd like
don't
to
you
have
play
somebody
that
else.
and see if people
So Loch Lomond.
So this is the earliest versions of the lyrics are starting to be collected somewhere within the next decade or two of this publication.
So I believe that the repeats are in there because Nathaniel Gow put them in there. So let's just make sure that is true and that it isn't just Elke, you know, like randomly putting in. Yeah.
They're in McGibbon as well.
Right. So I think that as a instrumental piece, as a disconnected from its song, this would be played with repeats. But you could very easily adapt it and say, no repeats for this version that we're going to play.
Okay.
All right. Older versions in other locations, such as the Scots Musical Museum, which is probably one of Nathaniel Gow's sources, because he was aware that was being published, you know, a few years earlier, and he knew Robert Burns, who was involved with collecting and publishing those tunes. That there, it's in the key of F, which is more of a singing key, and G is more of an instrument key.
It's in G in McGibbon.
Yeah. So let's go ahead and play Kind Robin Loves Me. Does anybody want to play more of that, or are you ready for the next?
Next one.
Okay. Well, you know, Pete,
I have not charged these in forever, and so
I am actually lit up pretty well from
Yeah,
the
for
window
now.
at the moment.
Yeah,
So
that doesn't mean the folks back here are.
yeah,
yeah, I did
know
my best.
it'd be nice for
Oh, wait.
for everybody.
Oh, you got one. That one still has some charge.
Ooh,
Okay,
okay.
coming this way.
Uh-huh. So it can shine onto your sheet music.
There you go.
All right.
Here without flying.
Light on it.
So-
Yeah, that's
Raise it up
good.
higher.
All right. Our next piece is Mrs. Grant of Lagan. And you might remember not that long ago when we did our William Marshall, we had the Mill of Lagan tune. And this is the same Lagan. So Mrs. Grant of Lagan, she's spelled differently in Gow, but that's just because spelling was pretty irregular in those days. It wasn't as standardized. So this is not credited to anyone. That was actually pretty common in a lot of these books published in the late 1700s, early 1800s, that they didn't necessarily say who had written it. Actually, the Gows were relatively good at saying whose tune it was. Nathaniel Gow got criticized for putting in tunes that other people had written without their names on them. But I'll have to say it was somewhat standard practice for the times. And you could probably count up the number of times Nathaniel Gow's own compositions were put in somebody else's book without his name on it. And it really come out about even. So I don't think that he was particularly worse than anybody else at that time, although he did take some heat for it. This Mrs. Grant of Lagan's is nowhere attributed to Captain Simon Fraser, but I think there's a chance that he may have written it. It's in a similar style. And he does have a presence in this book. There's some other Simon Fraser favorites in Nathaniel Gow's fourth repository. So let me play the tune for you.
Nice.
All right. As usual, I'm finding, I went through this all for errors, and now I'm finding another thing that I think is it. I think I wrote one note wrong, so let's check it out.
If this is a Simon Fraser, would it have been gotten informally? Because his book,
Yes.
the book
See?
was what was the first edition? It was
16.
1816. Yeah,
Mhm.
right up there actually on my top.
And the reason why I say Simon Fraser was obviously known
Mhm.
in this book, there's a tribute to Simon Fraser in one of the tunes in this book, in Nathaniel Gow's book, is Captain Simon Fraser of Knocky's favorite, a tune written for him. And it's close by this Mrs. Grant of Lagan. And it says this tune was communicated by Captain Fraser of Knocky. Which often was code for he wrote it, but is too modest to have his name printed with it. Sometimes it was collected by that person, but given that we know that Simon Fraser wrote a lot of tunes and it has so many hallmarks of how he would like to compose,
And he very frequently does not take credit for it.
and he frequently does not take credit for it. So there is, in fact, an error in the transcription. It's on the fourth line, first bar. There's a G, and it's supposed to be a G sharp.
I don't think I brought a pencil.
So it's right here,
G.
first bar, and it is there's a snap, then a run of 4/16 notes, and then a dot and a 16th note. That 16th note G is supposed to be a G sharp.
So
I have some pencils that people
right
name.
there. Oh, the G sharp right there.
Now, when I played it through, I played the G sharp.
Okay. I'm sorry, it's in the first. the
Fourth
first
line. Fourth
measure?
line.
Fourth line, first measure?
First measure
The only G.
is the only G in that measure,
Yeah, matches.
Oh, okay, so that's a sharp.
and it's right above the E chord.
Thanks.
Okay.
And the E chord is kind of a hint because the E chord has a G sharp in it. All right. So this can be played either as a slow
Is this
showpiece
in front of you?
or as a dance strathspey.
Is this in front of you?
No.
Okay.
Don't make it so much like, okay, because I just don't want this to be in front of you.
Okay. Are we ready to give it a go?
Sure.
Let's take it slowly because we can, right? We have
Yes,
permission to
that's a
play it
good
as a
idea.
slow piece. Okay, how about one more time as a little more of a strathspey?
Okay.
All right. And by the way, this is the first place that this tune is in print.
Wow.
So Simon Fraser's own book was published a year before. If he wrote this tune, he maybe hadn't written it yet, maybe hadn't composed it yet. And so it was
Just make it into it.
right. So it didn't make it into his 1816 book. What's that?
Oh, I was just trying to pronounce the name.
Speaking of which, before we eat, get our corrupted little fingers. If anyone wants to see a copy of the original 1816 Simon Fraser book, I happen to have one. So,
Ooh.
so they can check it out.
Wow. My first encounter with Simon Fraser's book was an original copy. I got interested in Scottish fiddle music while I was at college, and my college had a reasonable collection of rare books, and including rare music books. So I got to spend some time up close and personal with an original Simon Fraser collection, and I was like, oh, this is so exciting, it's Scottish tunes, blah blah blah. And then I found out that it had been republished and you could just buy one.
Oh, really?
And that you didn't have to go to a rare book room and put on the gloves and stuff.
Tim McDonald came across a copy on eBay and he says, I can't afford it, but if someone else wants to get it, and I'm like, $300? I think I can do $300.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. That is very cool. Okay, and actually we've got at least one person on the stream. Ruth says she can see and hear on the new stream, so yay.
Oh,
Okay.
Elke, I
Yes.
don't know what you're hitting on the stream, but it looks like you're accidentally deleting people. Like everything Helen Ellis wrote looks like it was deleted by our account.
I did not touch it.
Because it says when I looked at it, it says Helen Ellis was hidden by Peter Walker. Helen Ellis was. I was like, I didn't do it.
I didn't do it either.
So I
So
don't know what's happening.
there was nothing I actively did to do that,
Yeah, that's
other
weird.
than ending the stream.
Yeah, that's weird. It was
Yeah.
showing up all her
Wow.
comments, which were about not
Right.
breaking up.
No, I didn't do anything to try to delete that.
Oh, right. No, I think those two.
All right, so I've got some notes on this one. The Marquis of Tullybarden, just so that you know how to pronounce that. And the Marquis of Tullybarden is the courtesy title for the son of the Duke of Athol. And the Duke of Athol was Neil Gow's big patron. So we talked about how William Marshall worked for the Duke of Gordon, so he had a big, duke who as his patron. Well, Neil Gow also had a duke as his patron. The Duke of Athol has a castle. It's a castle, Blair Castle, and it's literally not very far from where Neil Gow lived in Inver. I've been to both places. Yeah, and so the Duke of Athol used to host entertainments and have Neil Gow come to play. And Neil Gow was famous enough, he became famous enough that he was brought to places all over the place to perform.
And you can see Blair Castle and Neil Gow and his brother playing cello in, was it Alan Ramsey? Or was it Alan, or was his son?
Yeah,
There's a poet and then a painter.
There's a famous painter. Alan Ramsey is the poet.
And his son was a painter. And painted several scenes of the Duke's estate, including Gow and his brother
playing for dancers. Yeah.
And there's all sorts of fun details in that, and I can bring that up.
It's a very famous painting. And Neil Gow's portrait is hanging in the big hall of Blair Castle. And incidentally, I've played there with Neil Gow looking over my shoulder. Yes.
Really? Oh, that's
Long time ago. So it says that this tune is sometimes attributed to John Crerar, who was the head gamekeeper of the Duke of Athol, and he was a friend of Neil Gow. He lived from 1750 to 1840, so it's actually similar to Gow's own dates. But there's nothing in the book that says he wrote it. That's sort of through other streams of stories that information comes through. But anyway, this would have been for the Duke's son, and apparently composed by a friend of Neil Gow. So there's this big stuff that says DS, Del Segno, go back to the sign, and then there's that fancy S sign. The only thing that is trying to tell you is, guess what? When you play it through again, leave the pickup note out. That's all it's saying. It's kind of like a lot of fancy music transcription rigmarole just to say, hey, if you don't need a pickup note, don't play it. Yeah. So, let's try playing Marquis of Tullybarden. Okay, so we could go a lot faster if you wanted to, but that's probably a pretty decent speed for that one. The next tune is Miss Stewart of Fasnacloich. It's real.
How do you pronounce that?
Fasnacloich.
Okay.
And actually, that's a very well-known name to Scottish country dancers because Mrs. Stewart of Fasnacloich, a different person than the tune is named after, founded the Royal Scottish Country Dance Society in 1923. It's kind of an interesting combination because Mrs. Stewart, Isabel Stewart of Fasnacloich, was one of these, landed gentry ladies who remembered doing lots of Scottish country dances at house parties and things like that. Her partner in this was Miss Milligan, Jean Milligan from Glasgow, who was a physical education teacher. And so they had totally different takes on where they were coming from for Scottish country dance, sort of the upper class house party versus, the physical fitness, school teacher. And they combined forces and made a really incredible organization that did, in fact, succeed in its goal of preserving Scottish country dance and keeping it a live tradition. So that's pretty cool. Okay, Ruth says both streams are up and running now, but no, not anymore. Okay.
Finally ended.
Okay, whatever. I don't know why it wouldn't end. The old stream forwarded to the new one. Oh, well, that's good.
Did it? Well, that's good.
Yeah.
I mean, I sent a link. Maybe they've got AI that detects when you.
I don't know. I'm just making the stream. I'm not. Once I play the tunes, I don't know where it goes from there. All right, so let me give you Miss Stewart. So it's the same family. It's some predecessor in the same family. And there's an error here, which is that every line should have repeat signs because it's a 4-part tune.
Oh.
So,
Yeah.
yeah. Boy, there are more errors than usual, and that's strange because I played through all this. I actually had time to play through it.
So each line is got a repeat.
It's a 4-part of this tune. that's supposed to be repeated to make 8 bars. So every line is supposed to be repeated.
Okay.
So let me play the tune for you. Okay, so one thing I'll point out, you notice how these snaps feature in this tune, right? That is a sort of a Highland characteristic. This tune also, other than the fact that on fiddle we're playing G sharps, otherwise it's completely pipeable, which makes me think, okay, this is probably either composed in the true Highland style or it really is natively a Highland tune adapted for fiddling. And that snap survives in two ways in modern reels, besides things like this. Pipers play reels with lots of snaps. Mm-hmm. They're so snappy that, I mean, we talked about this last time when we were doing the pipe tunes, that when they don't have a lot of snaps in them, they actually classify it differently. Mm-hmm. Also, in Cape Breton reel playing, people put in dots and snaps. And it's because of that Highland tradition of playing these reels with more dots and snaps. It's the thing that led to strathspeys in the first place. Mm-hmm. But they're meant to be played fast. Mm-hmm. Because they're played fast, you can't really, practically speaking, put in as many dots and snaps. But it is giving you a hint. If you can, don't play these as straight eighth notes. Mm-hmm. All right, put a little more rhythmic contour into it.
Now, for a piper, when you're doing a snap on without changing pitch, mm-hmm. it's actually just a slightly different way of interpreting a emphatic ornament that the mm-hmm. fiddler would consider a delayed tap. So because we don't have any articulation, so piper wouldn't even consider that a snap. It's just come out as that, mm-hmm. and it might be written as that in some collections. But it is just it's just an emphatic ornament, but it's timed so as to split the small chunk of the front.
Right, and we've talked about this in other contexts where you can play a quarter note, or you can snap it, or you could burl it, or you could just put some kind of ornament on it. So.
And that last one is closer to the analogy.
Right, and the pipers are putting an ornament in that the ear can interpret as, oh, that's a snap. Mm. But in reality, what it is it's a note with a certain type of ornament on it. Mm. If the snap changes pitch, then we can more properly consider it rhythmically a snap, even for pipes. But it still probably involves ornaments anyway. All right, let's play this slow, and remember, each line repeats. So that's very, to my ear, that's a real pipey
That's
sounding.
very nice sounding too.
Yeah.
Because you're always writing on the spot.
Okay, we're now on page 27. We already learned Will made the Bodie Rose song. So let's go to Dalkeith House. And I think we have had a Dalkeith jig and a Dalkeith reel / Strathspey in Fiddle Club before. James MacDonald, who's listed as the composer of this, was a dancing master. And there are a number of J. MacDonald tunes scattered throughout the Gow collections, and they're also found in Charles Duff's collection, which was published in the 1790s. So he was a known person who went about both playing and teaching Highland dance and stuff like that. So one of those dancing master musician. He probably did them both at the same time. This tune, I know I heard it long before I put it in Fiddle Club. In fact, when I went looking through this Gow repository to try to pick, okay, which ones am I going to present at Fiddle Club? I was all ready to input Dalkeith House, and I thought, well, I check everything just in case I already inputted it on my computer, and it was already there and it was perfectly arranged. So I played it before for some other reason. So I had already picked it out as being a cool tune. So let me play it for you. Dalkeith House.
That sounds super Cape Breton.
I've not heard it played in Cape
Well,
Breton.
yeah, I know, but I mean that.
Yeah.
It's the way the intervals work, the D, dual tonic, Mixolydian shade to it, but it's not. It's not.
But it's
D
not.
mix.
It's not.
But it dips its toe
To
in
me,
that water.
it sounds really 18th century. Yeah, this is like Robert McIntosh was composing reels like this in the late 1700s, and William Marshall wrote tunes that feel like this in the late 1700s, and Nathaniel Gow wrote tunes that feel like this in the late 1700s. So I think of it as being more of representing that era. Anyway, let's try playing it. I do love the way the intervals move in this tune. batteries
as
run
we
out.
slowly wind down and run out
Yeah.
of power.
Okay, well, we are on our last two tunes. So Johnny made a wedding of it. You know, there's a story. There is definitely a story behind this one. So Johnny got somebody in trouble, but instead of leaving her in the lurch, he made a wedding out of it. There's the story reading into the title. So it wasn't a scandal after all. He made it right. So let's play the tune. This is also known as a strathspey. It has a little bit of a feeling in common with Tulloch-Gorham, but it is not Tulloch-Gorham. So let me play it for you.
A little slower when we're going to do the accidentals.
Let's do it slower.
Just
To
a teeny
start.
bit slower, just because it's got accidentals.
Yeah. I'll just tell you the curious thing about this one is I did not learn it from Gow. I learned it from the first book of fiddle tunes that I ever had that had Scottish tunes in it, which somebody gave to me when I was 10.
Ooh, wow.
And it's this thing called Robin's Collection of Fiddle Tunes, and it's mostly got Irish and Scottish and Welsh and English, but it has odd stuff in it, like there's a Chardash from Hungary and there's Swedish tunes.
Wow. Any Jewish tunes?
You know, I haven't looked at it for a while.
What was the tune book called?
Robin's.
Robin. Okay.
Mm-hmm. And it's published in America. But the curious thing is it has a bunch of strathspeys in it, which, you know, most American tune books don't have strathspeys. And it had Johnny's made a wedding of it as a strathspey.
Interesting.
Yeah. And I told you it's sort of in the Tulloch-Gorham family of tunes.
It sounded a little bit like
Yeah,
that.
yeah. Oh, yeah. It's definitely.
It would make a fantastic reel for going into after the variations.
Mm-hmm. And there's more than one Tulloch-Gorham family tune besides Tulloch-Gorham itself. And this Johnny made a wedding of it. There's another one called Old Wife, either Beyond the Fire or Ayont the Fire. And they are all Tulloch-Gorham family. And Tulloch-Gorham was made famous by J. Scott Skinner for his variations, but it's a much, much older tune. And you can tell that because, again, it's the G to F Mixolydian modality of it for Tulloch-Gorham, and Johnny made a wedding of it. Okay. All right. Yeah, I like that tune. I think it's quite an interesting tune. All right, now the follow-up tune, Johnny's Friends Are Never Pleased. And I didn't make that part up. That was Nathaniel Gow's little joke.
Well, he had a cash bar at the wedding.
Right, so Johnny made a wedding of it, and right after that, Johnny's friends are never pleased. So that was Nathaniel Gow's own little follow-up. I'm sure he did it on purpose because these tunes are not randomly placed. They are all on purpose. So let me play that one for you. And it ends unresolved. So we never know the end of Johnny's story. Did he get his act together? Did his friends end up being pleased in the end? We don't know. So you could write the next installment of the Johnny saga if you want to continue the story. All right, let's try it nice and slow. Yeah. Well, just imagine poor Johnny. No matter what he did, he couldn't get it right. Yeah.
Syncopation or something.
Yeah, well, it is. It's totally syncopated. So this is the 1800s answer to people saying, "Oh, there's modern young people. They're always putting syncopation that shouldn't be there in all these Scottish tunes." It's like, here we go. In this old tune, there is syncopation written in there in the composition itself. And it's not just something added.
The tricky part is actually when it doesn't.
When it
Like-
does, I
Like
know.
bar 3
It's like-
lines 1 and 3 where it doesn't syncopate. You're like, wait, no.
Yeah, I kept messing up the entrance into bar 4 because it wasn't tied. It's actually just, it starts on the
Just
downbeat.
quarter note.
It's just regular note. Okay.
Yeah.
So, anyway, I think the two of them make a good little suite as well as an interesting story. Let's go ahead and play our ear tunes once again. But before we do, I want to bring your attention to a couple of announcements. So I already said Fiddle Club Dance, April 6th. If you don't want to play, but you can come anyway, we need people to volunteer and help set up, clean up, welcome people at the door. At this venue, we're not allowed to officially charge for tickets, but people can make donations. We have a suggested donation. And we will need people to do setting up of chairs and
snacks.
bring snacks, organize. People will bring contributions. The dancers love to bring snacks themselves, so somebody who can help organize that. Or if you would rather play in the band and not do any of those volunteer things, find a friend to volunteer to do them and bring them along. Talk to any dancers you know. If you go to any dance events, tell them, come to this Fiddle Club dance. Okay, so that's dance-related things. Becky will be issuing a schedule, so check your emails. Pete will send it around as soon as we get it from Becky as to when and where specifically the rehearsals will be. But it'll be between now and April 6th, so the next few weeks. Also between now,
Where will the dance be?
the dance is at Truro Community Center. It's in Northern Virginia, in Annandale. To sort of go to the Beltway, sort of near Tyson's Corner. You kind of head out of the Beltway.
Church.
No, it's a community center.
Interesting. Is it okay?
Yeah, it's used by the dancers for a number of events.
Okay.
So the Northern Virginia dancers and people who go to their events are all familiar with this hall. We're hoping that will help get people to come to it. But for us, it's a new venue. Fiddle Club has not played a dance there before. So be sure to look up directions. They're on the flyer.
That's a Sunday?
It's a Saturday.
Afternoon.
Saturday afternoon at 2.
That's before Easter.
After.
Easter's early this year.
Yeah, Easter's early.
Oh, this is April.
Easter's
Yeah.
last, it's
Mhm.
like
It's the weekend after.
It's the
Yeah.
rehearsals. Are Easter.
Yeah, the rehearsals I don't think Becky's gonna have a rehearsal on Easter.
I think Palm Sunday and Easter.
She did put that as in one of the dates at 7 p.m. And I said, I'd like to do the Wednesday before that was free.
Mhm.
So we'll see.
Anyway, so we will be reinforcing what time and places for any of these rehearsals. We'll make sure the word gets out. Second thing that I want to reemphasize is that scholarship. Anyone wants to get the dance musician playing scholarship to the TAC summer school event in St. Catharines, Ontario, near Niagara Falls, then the application deadline is the end of March. So there's information that Pete will be sending out shortly. I already sent to him. Is about specifically what website to go to. But if you go to the TAC Summer School, Teachers Association Canada is what TAC stands for, and look for the musician scholarship, and it's called the Bobby Brown Scholarship because Bobby Brown was a wonderful
A great fiddler?
accordion player.
I know.
He's a wonderful dance musician, and he used to do a lot of the mentoring back when he was still playing for these events. But this time you would be mentored by me and my wonderful staff of musicians. And I would really love for it to be somebody from Fiddle Club who gets the scholarship. So apply, people. Everybody should apply.
apply.
Yeah. Okay. And then the other event I want to put on your radar screen is the May Fiddle Club weekend. Is also Upper Potomac Music, Cape Breton Pipes and Fiddle weekend. Joni Blanton
I'm sorry.
is bringing in Wendy McIsaac, Troy McGillivray, and Barry Shears to teach. I am also teaching. And Fiddle Club is going to be sort of integrated as part of the end of that weekend. So you could go for the whole thing, Friday night, Saturday, Sunday, and end with Fiddle Club, or you can just come to Fiddle Club as usual. But it'll be out near Shepherdstown, West Virginia. It's actually in Maryland, on the Maryland side of the
Last time we did that was like year 12 or so.
Yeah, we haven't done that for a while, but we did it about 3 or 4 times in the past. So just giving you a heads up that the May meeting will be a little different because it's integrated as part of this big weekend.
So it's what, Hagerstown or Sharpsburg?
Yeah, it's near Sharpsburg.
Sure. Oh, that's
And it's also just incredible. Wendy McIsaac is one you've heard me talk about. Wendy is one of my favorite Cape Breton fiddlers, and Troy plays fiddle as well as piano. Wendy plays piano too. They're all multi-talented. These are very talented people. Barry Shears has collected and written books on the piping tradition in Cape Breton. And he's just amazing in terms of both his scholarship and playing. So these are some people that we don't see around here very often. So I would recommend take advantage of it. Okay, let's review the ones we learned by ear. So let's do the Bodie Rose and then Elsie Marley. So Bodie Rose, you remember, was in the key of D. Elsie Marley. Let's play Elsie Marley. All right. So that's it for our workshop this month of music from the Gow Repository, Book 4.
Can I ask a question?
Yeah.
It seems like a few of these tunes I seem to have heard on the dance floor. Are these some of these popular tunes that might have been integrated into a Scottish country dance event?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Some of them are. Yeah. And it's true for a lot of Gow tunes because these guys were the best Scottish dance musicians of their time.
Mm-hmm.
And they collected the biggest collection of Scottish dance music of their time. So it is no surprise that these tunes are still played for dancing in Scotland. All right, bye to the live stream.
You didn't even run out of power.